Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship, looking down at the strange planet below. The world was covered in red rocks and silver cities that looked like they were made of metal and glass. This was Xerion Prime, home to the Kalari people. Jake had never seen anything like it. He was the captain of a small team from Earth. His job was to talk to the Kalari and ask for their help. Earth was in trouble. A group of evil aliens called the Devourers was coming to attack. They destroyed planets and killed everyone on them. Earth needed the Kalari's special shield technology to protect themselves. Jake walked to the meeting room where his team was waiting. There was Lisa Parker, the ship's doctor. She was smart and always worried about keeping everyone safe. Then, there was Ryan Brooks, who knew all about fighting and weapons. Both of them looked nervous. "Are you ready for this, Jake?" Lisa asked. She was checking her medical bag for the third time. "As ready as we can be," Jake said. "Remember the Kalari, our warriors. They respect strength and honor. We need to show them we're worthy allies." Ryan laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Warriors who think humans are weak. This is going to be fun." Their ship landed in the main city of Xerion Prime. The buildings were tall and beautiful, but they looked like they were built for war. Everything had sharp edges and looked strong enough to survive a battle. Jake could see Kalari people walking around. They were tall, with blue-gray skin and silver eyes. They moved like fighters, always ready for a fight. A group of Kalari soldiers met them at the landing pad. The soldiers wore armor that looked like it was made of black metal. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The leader of the group stepped forward. "I am Commander Veltanis," the Kalari said. His voice was deep and rough. "The princess will see you now." They walked through the city to a huge building that looked like a palace and a fortress at the same time. Inside, the walls were covered with weapons and banners. Everything was clean and organized like a military base. The throne room was massive. At the far end sat Princess Zara Velthanis on a chair that looked like it was carved from one giant piece of black stone. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see everything. Next to her throne stood a sword unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was long and curved, with a blade that seemed to glow with its own light. "Humans," Princess Zara said. Her voice was cold, but not unfriendly. "You come asking for our help, but tell me, why should the Kalari help a people who have never proven themselves in battle?" Jake stepped forward. He had practiced this speech many times. "Princess, Earth faces the same enemy that threatens all free worlds. The Devourers want to destroy everything we've built. Together we can stop them. Alone we might all fall." An old Kalari woman standing near the throne spoke up. "Words are easy, human. The Kalari have fought the Devourers for generations. What can your soft people offer us?" "We offer friendship," Jake said. "We offer our knowledge, our technology, and our promise to fight beside you." Princess Zara leaned forward. "Show me this. Friendship means something. Prove your people have courage." Before Jake could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the palace. Red lights flashed, and he could hear explosions in the distance. Kalari soldiers rushed into the throne room. "Princess," one soldier shouted, "the compound is under attack. Separatist forces have broken through the outer defenses." Everything happened very fast after that. The throne room filled with smoke, and Jake could hear the sound of energy weapons firing. Through the smoke, he saw shapes moving toward them. These weren't regular Kalari soldiers. They wore different armor and moved like they wanted to kill everyone in the room. "Protect the princess," Commander Veltanis yelled. Jake saw Princess Zara fighting near her throne. She was good with her weapon, but there were too many enemies. A piece of the ceiling fell and knocked her down. She was trapped under heavy stone blocks, and 3 enemy soldiers were moving toward her. Without thinking, Jake ran toward her. His team shouted his name, but he didn't stop. The princess looked up at him with surprise in her silver eyes. "The blade," she said, pointing to her sword. "Take the blade." Jake grabbed the beautiful sword from beside her throne. The moment his hands touched it, something strange happened. The weapon felt warm, like it was alive. It felt right in his hands, like it belonged there. The first enemy soldier reached him. Jake had trained with swords before, but this was different. The blade seemed to move on its own, blocking the attack and striking back. The enemy fell. The yow. Second soldier attacked from the side. Again, Jake moved without thinking. The sword cut through the air like it was dancing. The soldier dropped his weapon and fell. The third soldier was the biggest and strongest. He had a weapon that glowed with red energy. Jake felt calm as he faced him. The sword in his hands hummed with power. They fought for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Finally, Jake's blade found its mark and the last enemy fell. Jake helped move the stones off Princess Zara. She stood up slowly, staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. Around them, other Kalari were also staring. The fighting in the rest of the palace was ending, but everyone was looking at Jake and the sword in his hands. A very old Kalari woman stepped forward from the group. Her eyes were wide with shock. "By the ancient laws," she whispered, "he has wielded the Velthanis blade in defense of the clan heir. The Velmora is complete." Jake looked around at all the staring faces. He didn't understand what was happening, but he could tell it was important. Princess Zara was still looking at him, and now there was something new in her eyes, something that looked like surprise, respect, and maybe something else. "What's Velmora?" Jake asked. The old woman smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "You have bound yourself to our princess human. By law and tradition, you are now promised to her in marriage." Jake's mouth fell open. He looked at the sword in his hands, then at Princess Zara, then at his team. Lisa looked like she might faint. Ryan was shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Princess Zara stepped closer to Jake. "I tried to warn you," she said softly. "But thank you for saving my life." Jake realized that saving the princess might have been the easy part. Understanding what he had just gotten himself into was going to be much harder. Jake sat in his room in the palace, staring at his hands. They still felt warm from holding Princess Zara's sword. He couldn't believe what had happened. One minute he was trying to save someone's life, and the next minute he was supposedly engaged to marry an alien princess. Lisa paced back and forth across the room. She had been doing that for an hour. "This is crazy, Jake. There has to be a way out of this." Ryan was looking at information on his tablet. "I've been reading about Kalari marriage laws. This Velmora thing is serious. It's one of their oldest traditions." "Explain it to me again," Jake said. "In simple words." Ryan cleared his throat. "Okay, so each Kalari clan has a special sword. It's been in their family for hundreds of years. Only members of the clan are supposed to touch it. If an outsider picks up the sword to defend someone from that clan, it means they're willing to join the family. But I didn't know that," Jake said. "Doesn't matter," Ryan continued. "The law says that if you use the clan blade to save the heir, you're automatically engaged to marry them. It's supposed to show that you're willing to die for their family." Lisa stopped pacing. "So what happens if Jake says no?" Ryan looked uncomfortable. "He has to prove he's not worthy in combat, or Princess Zara has to reject him in public, which would shame her family forever." Jake put his head in his hands. "Great. So either I fight someone who will probably kill me, or I ruin her life." There was a soft knock on the door. Princess Zara came in, but she looked different now. Instead of her royal clothes, she wore simple training gear. She looked younger and more human somehow. "May I speak with you alone?" she asked Jake. Lisa and Ryan looked at Jake, then left the room. Princess Zara sat down across from him. "I want to apologize," she said. "I should have explained before you touched the blade, but everything happened so fast." "It's not your fault," Jake said. "I would have grabbed any weapon to help you." Princess Zara smiled for the first time since he'd met her. "That's what makes this complicated. Most people who trigger the Velmora do it on purpose. They want to marry into a powerful clan. But you just wanted to help." "Can we undo it?" Jake asked. "There are ways, but they're all dangerous or shameful." She looked sad. "Jake, I need you to understand something. My people are watching this very carefully. Some think it's wonderful that a human proved himself worthy of our princess. Others are angry that an outsider now has a claim on me. Jake leaned forward. What do you think? Princess Zara was quiet for a long moment. I think you fought like a true Kalari warrior. I think you have honor. And I think this situation is more complicated than either of us wanted. Over the next few days, Jake learned more about Kalari culture. Princess Zara's younger sister, Lyra, was excited about the whole thing. She was smaller than Zara, with bright silver eyes and a quick smile. This is the most interesting thing that's happened in years, Lyra said. She was teaching Jake how to eat Kalari food without embarrassing himself. Most of the men who want to marry Zara are boring old warriors who only talk about fighting. I'm not sure I'm much better, Jake said, trying to use the strange Kalari eating tools. Are you kidding? You're from another planet. You have so many stories to tell. But not everyone was happy. Queen Velandra, Zara's mother, was clearly worried. She was a tall, serious woman who looked like an older version of Zara. This marriage would change everything, she told Jake during one of their formal meetings. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Your Majesty, I'm still trying to understand what that responsibility means, Jake answered honestly. The Queen nodded. At least you're honest. That's more than I can say for some. Jake spent time training with Kalari warriors to learn more about their culture. Their fighting style was different from anything humans used. It wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about understanding your weapon and moving like you were dancing. Feel the blade's balance, said Master Corvain, the weapons trainer. Don't fight it. Work with it. Jake was getting better, but he still felt clumsy compared to the Kalari. However, he noticed that his human training helped in some ways. He could think of solutions that the Kalari didn't expect. During one practice session, Princess Zara came to watch. Jake was sparring with a young Kalari warrior named Dex. Dex was faster and stronger, but Jake managed to win by using a move he learned on Earth. Interesting, Princess Zara said afterward. You fight like water. What does that mean? Water doesn't try to be stronger than rock. It finds a way around. She seemed to be thinking about something. Jake, walk with me. They went to a garden in the palace. It was beautiful, with strange plants that glowed softly in the evening light. Tell me about Earth, Princess Zara said. Jake talked about his home planet. He told her about cities and forests, about oceans and mountains. He told her about human history, about wars and peace, about art and music. Your people sound complicated, Princess Zara said. All people are complicated, I think. Princess Zara nodded. The Kalari have always valued strength and tradition, but sometimes I wonder if we're too focused on the old ways. What do you mean? Look at what happened with the attack. Those weren't foreign enemies. They were our own people who disagreed with our policies. We're so busy maintaining tradition that we're not solving real problems. Jake could see the weight of leadership on her shoulders. Being a princess wasn't just about wearing fancy clothes and living in a palace. She really cared about her people. Tonyo, Earth, we have a saying, Jake told her. The best leaders are the ones who don't want power. Then I must be an excellent leader, Princess Zara said with a sad smile. Their conversation was interrupted by Commander Veltanis running toward them. Princess, Captain Morrison, you need to come quickly. They followed him to the command center. The room was full of Kalari officers looking at screens and talking urgently. What's happening? Princess Zara demanded. Long-range sensors have detected the Devourer fleet, Commander Veltanis said. They're 3 days closer than we expected. Jake felt his stomach drop. How many ships? More than we can count. And Princess? Commander Veltanis looked uncomfortable. We've discovered that. The separatists who attacked the palace were working with the Devourers. The attack was meant to weaken our defenses from the inside. Princess Zara went pale. They used our own people against us. Jake looked at the screens showing the approaching enemy fleet. Hundreds of dark ships moving toward their planet like a swarm of insects. How long do we have? He asked. 4 days, maybe 5, an officer answered. Princess Zara straightened her shoulders. Jake could see her switching from the thoughtful woman he'd been talking with to the strong leader her people needed. "Send word to all clans," she ordered. "Prepare for war and get me a communication line to Earth. We need that alliance now." As the officers rushed to follow her orders, Princess Zara looked at Jake. "It seems our marriage problems will have to wait," she said. "Right now we need to focus on staying alive." Jake nodded, but he couldn't help thinking that their personal situation and the war might be more connected than they realized. If they could find a way to work together, maybe they could save both their peoples. The next few days would test everything they both believed about duty, honor, and what it meant to protect the people you cared about. The Devourer ships arrived like a dark storm across the sky. Jake stood on the palace walls with Princess Zara, watching the enemy fleet take positions around their planet. The ships were black and twisted, like someone had built them to look as scary as possible. "They're blocking all the escape routes," Princess Zara said. She held a communication device that crackled with reports from around the planet. "No one can get off-world now." Jake counted the ships he could see. There must be over 200 of them. 237, Commander Veltanis said, joining them on the wall. "Our scouts confirmed it before they were destroyed." The first attack came without warning. Beams of red energy shot down from the Devourer ships, hitting the planet's orbital defense stations. Jake watched in horror as the stations exploded in bright flashes of light. "They're taking out our shields," Princess Zara said grimly. "Soon, they'll be able to attack the surface." Alarms started ringing throughout the city. Jake could see Kalari civilians running for the underground shelters. Parents carried their children, and everyone moved with the practiced efficiency of people who had trained for this day. "What can I do to help?" Jake asked. Princess Zara looked at him for a moment. "Can you fight in real combat, not just practice?" "I've been in battles before," Jake said. "Different kinds, but yes. Then you'll come with my personal guard unit. We're going to defend the civilian shelters." Jake's team joined them. Lisa had her medical supplies ready, and Ryan carried weapons. For all of them. They moved through the city as the first Devourer ground forces began landing. The enemy soldiers were horrible to look at. They wore armor that covered their entire bodies, and they moved like machines. Their weapons made a terrible screaming sound when they fired. Jake's first real fight came when a group of Devourer soldiers cornered a family of Kalari civilians near one of the shelters. The parents were trying to protect their two small children, but they had no weapons. Jake didn't think. He just ran toward the enemies with Princess Zara's sword in his hands. The blade felt warm again like it had during the attack on the palace. The first Devourer soldier turned toward Jake and fired its weapon. Jake moved sideways and the energy beam missed him by inches. He struck back with the sword, and the blade cut right through the enemy's armor. Princess Zara fought beside him, her own weapon spinning in graceful arcs. Together they defeated the enemy squad and got the family safely to the shelter. "You fight well for someone who's not Kalari," she said, breathing hard. "You fight well for someone who's supposed to be a princess," Jake replied. She laughed, and for a moment they both forgot about the war. The fighting continued all day and into the night. Jake found himself working naturally with the Kalari warriors. His human training taught him to think differently about tactics, while their training taught him to move more efficiently. During one battle, Jake came up with an idea that surprised everyone. A group of Devourer soldiers had taken position in a tall building and were shooting down at the defenders. The Kalari were planning a direct attack which would cost many lives. "What if we don't attack them at all?" Jake suggested. "What do you mean?" Commander Veltanis asked. Jake pointed to a construction crane nearby. "What if we use that to drop something heavy on the building? Make it collapse?" The Kalari looked at each other. "That's not how we usually fight. But it would work," Princess Zara said slowly, "and it would save lives." They tried Jake's plan. Using the crane, they dropped a massive piece of concrete onto the building. It worked perfectly. The building came down, and the Devourer soldiers were defeated without losing a single Kalari warrior. "Humans think in interesting ways, Master," Corvain said afterward. "But victory came with a price. During the fighting to protect a group of Kalari children, Jake was badly hurt. A devourer weapon hit him in the chest, and he collapsed. He woke up in the medical center. Lisa was working on him, but so was a Kalari healer. They were sharing their knowledge to keep him alive. "You scared us," Lisa said when she saw him wake up. Jake tried to sit up, but everything hurt. "How long was I out?" "2 days," said a familiar voice. Princess Zara was sitting beside his bed. She looked tired and worried. "You were badly injured protecting those children. Are they okay?" "Yes, all of them are safe." Princess Zara's voice was soft. "Jake, what you did, it means something important to my people. You risked your life for Kalari children who aren't even from your own species." Jake was quiet for a moment. "They were just kids. Anyone would have done the same thing." "No," Princess Zara said. "Not everyone would have. That's what makes you different." Over the next few days, as Jake recovered, he noticed that the Kalari treated him differently. Warriors who had been cold to him before now nodded respectfully when they saw him. Civilians who had been suspicious now smiled and thanked him for protecting their children. But not everyone was happy with Jake's growing reputation. Lord Commander Thane, one of the most powerful Kalari military leaders, came to visit Jake while he was still recovering. Thane was huge, even for a Kalari. His armor was covered with medals and battle scars. He looked like he had been fighting wars since before Jake was born. "So you're the human who thinks he can marry our princess," Thane said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "I didn't plan for any of this to happen," Jake said carefully, "but it did happen, and now you want to claim the highest honor in our society." Thane leaned closer. "I don't think you're worthy." Jake felt a chill. "What do you mean?" "I mean that by ancient law, I have the right to challenge your claim. Single combat, winner takes all, loser dies." Princess Zara, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped into the room. "Thane, he's still recovering from his injuries." "Then he can recover quickly," Thane said. "I'll give him 1 week. After that, we fight." After Thane left, Princess Zara sat down heavily beside Jake's bed. "Can you beat him?" she asked quietly. Jake looked at his hands. They were still wrapped in bandages. "I don't know. He's been fighting for decades. I've been training for days." "There's something else," Princess Zara said. "If you win but show mercy, many Kalari will think you're weak. If you win and kill him, you'll make powerful enemies. His clan is very influential. And if I lose, then you die and the alliance between our peoples probably dies with you." Jake stared at the ceiling. A week ago, his biggest worry was whether the diplomatic mission would succeed. Now he was facing a fight to the death that could determine the fate of 2 worlds. "Princess," he said, "I need to ask you something honestly. If I died tomorrow, would you be sad? Or would you be relieved that you don't have to marry a human?" Princess Zara was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I would be very sad, Jake Morrison. Sadder than I expected to be when I first met you." Jake turned to look at her. "Then I guess I better not lose." Princess Zara smiled, but her eyes were still worried. "I guess you better not." As Jake began training for the most important fight of his life, he realized that somewhere along the way, this had stopped being just about duty and honor. Now it was about something much more personal and much more important. Jake spent every waking hour training for his fight with Lord Commander Thane. His injuries were healing, but slowly. Lisa checked on him constantly, worried that he was pushing himself too hard. "Your ribs are still cracked," she said after examining him. "And that energy burn on your chest needs more time to heal." "I don't have more time," Jake said, practicing sword movements that Princess Zara had taught him. "The fight is in 3 days." Princess Zara was his main trainer. Every morning before dawn, they met in the palace training room. She taught him not just how to move the sword, but how to think like a Kalari warrior. "Fighting isn't just about strength," she said, showing him a complex series of movements. "It's about understanding your opponent, understanding yourself, and understanding the weapon in your hands." Jake was getting better, but he still felt clumsy compared to her. Princess Zara moved like she was dancing. every motion perfect and controlled. "I'm never going to be as good as you," Jake said after failing to complete a difficult technique for the 10th time. "You don't need to be as good as me," Princess Zara said. "You need to be better than Thane, and you need to fight like Jake. Morrison, not like a Kalari." "What do you mean?" Princess Zara sat down beside him on the training mat. "Thane expects you to fight like a Kalari warrior because that's all he knows. But you're not Kalari. You have different knowledge, different experiences. Use that." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked out onto the palace balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Devourer fleet was waiting to attack, again. Down here, he was preparing to fight one of the greatest warriors in Kalari history. "Nervous?" Princess Zara's voice came from behind him. Jake turned around. She was wearing a simple dress instead of her training clothes, and her silver hair was loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful in the starlight. Terrified, Jake said honestly. Princess Zara came to stand beside him at the balcony railing. "I need to tell you something about the marriage bond." Jake's heart started beating faster. "What about it?" "I could break it," she said quietly. "If I publicly rejected you, the bond would be dissolved. You wouldn't have to fight Thane." Jake stared at her. "But that would shame your family." "Yes. But you would be alive." Princess Zara's voice was soft. "Jake, I've been thinking about this for days. When I first met you, I thought you were just another weak human, but you're not. You're brave and kind, and you've already proven yourself to my people. So why would you reject me?" Princess Zara turned to face him. "Because I'm falling in love with you, and I don't want to watch you die." Jake felt like someone had punched him in the chest. "You're falling in love with me?" "Yes, and that makes everything more complicated." Princess Zara's silver eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I can't ask you to die for my honor. It's not fair." Jake reached out and gently touched her face. "Princess Zara, what if I told you that I'm falling in love with you too?" She looked surprised. "Are you?" "Yes." "I didn't expect it to happen, but it did. Somewhere between the training sessions and the conversations about our worlds, I started seeing you not just as a princess, but as a person. An amazing person." Princess Zara leaned into his touch. "Then you understand why I can't let you fight Thane." "No," Jake said firmly. "I understand why I have to fight him. Jake, listen to me. If you reject me to save my life, you'll be giving up your honor for me. That's not the action of a weak person. That's the action of someone who loves me. And if you can be that brave for me, then I can be brave for you." Princess Zara was crying, now but trying not to show it. "You could die. Maybe. But if I win, we can be together. Really together. And our marriage would mean something to both our peoples." They stood together on the balcony, holding each other as the alien stars shone down on them. The day of the fight arrived. The combat arena was packed with thousands of Kalari from all over the planet. Jake had never seen so many of them in one place. The arena itself was a large circle surrounded by stone seats that rose high into the air. Jake's team was there, of course. Lisa looked sick with worry. Ryan was trying to act confident, but Jake could see the fear in his eyes. "Just remember everything we taught you," Ryan said, "and try not to die." "Thanks for the advice," Jake said, trying to make a joke. Lord Commander Thane entered the arena from the opposite side. He looked even bigger than Jake remembered. His armor was polished to a mirror shine, and he carried a sword that looked like it could cut through steel. The crowd grew quiet as Princess Zara stood up in the royal box. "Citizens of Zerion Prime," her voice carried clearly through the arena. "Today we witness single combat to determine the worth of Captain Jake Morrison of Earth. The challenge has been issued and accepted. Let the combat begin." Jake walked to the center of the arena. Thane was already there, looking calm and confident. "Last chance, human," Thane said quietly. "Surrender now, and I'll make it quick." "Thanks, but no," Jake replied. "I have something to fight for." The combat began with Thane's first attack. Jake barely got his sword up in time to block it. The force of the blow sent him sliding backward across the sand. Thane was incredibly strong and incredibly fast. For the first few minutes of the fight, Jake could barely do anything except defend himself. Every time he tried to attack, Thane was already moving to counter him. But Jake started to notice patterns in Thane's fighting style. The Kalari warrior was very skilled, but he fought the same way every time. He used traditional techniques that Jake had seen in his training. Jake began to mix his human combat training with what Princess Zara had taught him. Instead of trying to match Thane's strength, he used speed and unpredictability. He started fighting like water, flowing around Thane's attacks instead of meeting them head-on. The crowd began to murmur as the fight continued longer than anyone expected. Thane was starting to look frustrated. He had expected to defeat Jake quickly, but the human was proving harder to kill than anticipated. Jake found an opening and managed to land a hit on Thane's shoulder. It wasn't a serious wound, but it was first blood. The crowd roared with excitement. Now Thane was angry. He attacked with renewed fury, his sword moving so fast it was almost a blur. Jake gave ground, barely staying ahead of the deadly blade, but anger made Thane sloppy. He overextended on one attack and Jake saw his chance. Using a technique he had learned on Earth, Jake grabbed Thane's sword arm and used the larger warrior's own momentum to throw him to the ground. Thane rolled away and came back to his feet, but now he was breathing hard. Jake was exhausted too, but he could see that he had a chance. The final exchange came when both warriors charged each other at the same time. Their swords met in a shower of sparks. For a moment, they stood locked together, each trying to overpower the other. Then Jake did something that no Kalari would have thought of. Instead of trying to push harder, he suddenly stepped back and to the side. Thane, who had been pushing with all his strength, stumbled forward. Jake's sword found its mark. Thane fell to his knees, Jake's blade at his throat. The arena was completely silent. "Yield," Jake said, breathing hard. Thane looked up at him with surprise and something that might have been respect. "You could kill me now. Take your complete victory." Jake thought about everything that had led to this moment. He thought about Princess Zara, about the alliance between their peoples, and about what kind of man he wanted to be. "I could," Jake said, "but I won't. You fought with honor, Lord Commander. I ask for your surrender, not your life." Thane stared at him for a long moment. Then he laid down his sword. "I yield," he said loudly enough for the entire arena to hear, "and I acknowledge your worthiness." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake looked up at the royal box and saw Princess Zara standing with tears in her eyes and a huge smile on her face. As Jake helped Thane to his feet, the older warrior spoke quietly. "That was well fought, human, and wisely ended. You have earned not just victory today, but respect." Jake looked around the arena at the cheering crowd. He had won the right to marry Princess Zara, but more than that, he had proven that humans and Kalari could understand each other. Now all they had to do was survive the war. The final battle against the Devourer fleet began 2 days after Jake's fight with Thane. This time, the Kalari and human forces fought together as true allies. Jake found himself on the bridge of a Kalari warship, working alongside Princess Zara to coordinate the defense. "Human ship Defiance reporting in," came Ryan's voice over the communication system. He was commanding one of the Earth vessels that had arrived to help. "Kalari Squadron 7, move to protect the human ship's flanks," Princess Zara ordered. Jake watched the battle on the main screen. The combined fleet was working better than anyone had hoped. Human tactics mixed with Kalari strength was proving to be a powerful combination. "Their command ship is breaking through our left side," Jake pointed out. Princess Zara nodded. "All ships concentrate fire on the large vessel. Target their weapon systems first." The battle lasted for hours. When it was finally over, the Devourer fleet was either destroyed or retreating. Both species had proven that together they were stronger than apart. 1 week later, Jake stood in his room getting ready for his wedding. It felt strange to be putting on formal Kalari clothing, but Lisa had helped him figure out how everything was supposed to fit. "You clean up pretty well," Lisa said, adjusting something on his jacket. "Are you nervous?" "Yes, but it's a good nervous," Jake replied. "I can't believe this is actually happening." Ryan knocked on the door and came in. "Jake, your parents just arrived on the transport from Earth." Jake's parents had made the long journey to attend their son's wedding. His mother had cried when she first saw him, and his father had shaken his hand with pride. They were still trying to understand everything that had happened, but they could see that Jake was happy. The wedding ceremony was held in the main courtyard of the palace. Hundreds of Kalari attended, along with the human delegation from Earth. The mixture of the two species created a gathering unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Princess Zara looked beautiful in her wedding dress, which was a mixture of human and Kalari styles. Her silver hair was decorated with flowers from both worlds, and she wore her clan's ceremonial jewelry. The ceremony itself was special because it honored both cultures. Jake's parents had brought rings from Earth, while Zara's family provided the traditional Kalari binding cords. "Do you, Jake Morrison of Earth, promise to honor the traditions of the Velthanis clan?" asked Elder Kethara. "I do," Jake said in Kalari. He had been practicing the language for weeks. "Do you, Princess Zara Velthanis, accept this union between our worlds?" "I do," Princess Zara replied in English. When they exchanged rings and bound their wrists with the ceremonial cords, the crowd cheered in both human and Kalari languages. Jake couldn't help but smile as he looked at his new wife. "Hello, husband," Princess Zara whispered. "Hello, wife," Jake whispered back. After the ceremony, there was a huge celebration. Jake met dozens of Kalari nobles and officials, many of whom were curious about human culture. His parents spent hours talking to Kalari families, sharing stories about Earth and learning about Zirian Prime. "Your son is a good man," Queen Velandra told Jake's mother. "He has brought honor to both our families." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jake's mother replied. "I'm still trying to understand everything that happened, but I can see that he loves your daughter very much." The celebration continued late into the night. There was music from both worlds, food that mixed human and Kalari recipes, and dancing that combined the styles of both species. Jake and Princess Zara, now Princess Zara Morrison, had their first dance together as husband and wife. As they moved to the music, Jake thought about how much his life had changed in just a few weeks. "Any regrets?" Princess Zara asked as they danced. "Only one," Jake said. Princess Zara looked worried. "What?" "I regret that it took a war and almost dying for me to meet you." Princess Zara laughed and pulled him closer. "We have plenty of time to make up for that." Over the next few months, Jake adjusted to his new life as Prince Consort of the Crimson Blade clan. It wasn't easy learning to govern alongside Zara, but they made a good team. Jake's different perspective helped solve problems that had puzzled the Kalari for years, while Zara's knowledge of tradition helped Jake understand the deeper meaning behind Kalari customs. They worked together to establish permanent human colonies on Kalari worlds. The first settlement was named New Harmony, and it became a symbol of cooperation between the two species. Humans and Kalari lived and worked side by side, sharing their knowledge and creating something new. Jake also helped set up Kalari embassies on Earth. The first Kalari ambassador to Earth was Lyra, Princess Zara's sister, who was excited to explore human culture. "Earth has such interesting music," Lyra reported during one of her visits home. "And the humans have so many different types of food." 6 months after the wedding, Princess Zara had wonderful news. "Jake," she said one morning as they looked out over their city, "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "I'm pregnant." Jake stared at her in amazement. "Really? Really? Our child will be the first human Kalari hybrid ever born." Jake hugged her tightly. Their child would be living proof that the two species could not only work together, but create a future together. The pregnancy was closely watched by doctors from both species. No one knew exactly what to expect, but Lisa worked with Kalari healers to make sure everything went well. 9 months later, their daughter was born. She had Jake's brown hair and Zara's silver eyes, and she was beautiful. They named her Hope, because she represented hope for both their worlds. "She's perfect," Jake said, holding his tiny daughter. She's going to change everything, Princess Zara said softly. Children like her will grow up thinking it's normal for humans and Kalari to be family. Jake looked down at Hope, then out the window at the city where humans and Kalari now lived and worked together. In the distance, he could see the construction of new buildings designed by both species working together. You know what the best part is? Jake said. What? She'll never know a world where humans and Kalari were strangers to each other. Princess Zara smiled. That's a good world to grow up in. Every morning Jake still practiced with Princess Zara's clan sword. But now it was truly his sword too. He moved through the ancient forms with skill and confidence, no longer the confused human who had grabbed it in desperation. As he trained, Princess Zara would often watch from the doorway holding Hope in her arms. Teaching her early? Princess Zara would joke. She needs to know both traditions, Jake would reply. Human and Kalari. 1 year after their wedding, Jake and Princess Zara stood on the same balcony where they had first talked about their feelings for each other. The city below them was thriving, with humans and Kalari working together on projects that neither species could have accomplished alone. Do you ever miss your old life? Princess Zara asked. Jake thought about it seriously. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of it. But I wouldn't trade this life for anything. I have you, I have hope, and I have a purpose that's bigger than just myself. What purpose is that? Jake smiled and put his arm around his wife. Helping to build a future where our daughter can be proud of both sides of her heritage, where humans and Kalari aren't separate peoples but one people working together. Princess Zara leaned against him. That's a good purpose. As they watched the sun set over their city, Jake reflected on the strange path that had brought him here. A simple diplomatic mission had become an adventure that changed his life and the lives of billions of people across 2 worlds. He had grabbed a sword to save a life, never knowing that he was also saving the future. Sometimes the most important moments happen when you're not trying to be a hero. Sometimes you just do what feels right, and the universe takes care of the rest. Jake Morrison had come to Zerion Prime as a human diplomat. He was staying as Prince Consort, husband, father, and bridge between 2 worlds, and he had never been happier in his life.